Alright guys, what's going on? It's Red Fox here, and welcome back to the Kengan Technique tier list. As you can see, we still have the old list set up. I actually made the fix that I was talking about in the last video. I dropped down Dragon Shot. But I went through and tried to find every single technique I missed, right? I tried to go through everyone's character profiles on the Kengan wiki. I tried to, dredge up my memory to see if I could remember any of the other techniques that maybe I wasn't seeing on the wiki, and here's what I was able to find. I was able to find quite a few techniques that I had missed, and today we are going to go through all of them, but I'll be trying to get through them as quickly as possible. I won't be going, super in-depth on all of them, because as you can see, if I tried to go through all of these super in-depth, we'd probably be here for hours. So I'll be trying to kind of shotgun each of these, so I guess we can just jump right into it. In terms of placement in the tiers is probably going to be where I put most of my thought, but first up we have Liu Dongshen's Earthquake Foot. I think I'm going to put that in B tier, but I'm trying to see where. It's good for throwing people off balance. If he did it in the middle of a fight, he'd probably be able to throw his opponent off balance. And it's a potentially strong attack if he uses it against a grounded person, but it's kind of situational in that you can really only use it like a stomp. I don't think it's, I guess we can just move down the list. This one is maybe where I start to, well, Lawn is like an attack. That's the thing. This is not so much an attack. Maybe I think this is the point where I'm like, okay, if somebody actually got hit with Earthquake Foot, at the very least, putting somebody off balance with that Earthquake Foot stomp would leave them open to, whatever, right? So I want to say, I'd say it's better than Scud and Patriot. I'd say it's better than Falling Bucket. Yeah, I think it's just useful enough to fit there. All right, moving on already. Mabu Gong, the horse stance. It's a stance, so it's going in C tier. But it's a strong stance. It's a very stable stance that allows you to stay upright while sprawling a takedown attempt, as we saw when Liu used it against Nitoku, sorry. But it's just a stance, so I'm not comfortable putting it above C tier. There's only one stance that I'll be putting above C tier, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. But I think I want to say this is actually... Yeah, I want to say this is the best stance so far. But it doesn't have a lot of mobility. I definitely put it above the Chin-Na stance. But the Yin-Yang intersection stance, or the stance of Yin-Yang intersection, that's a pretty solid stance. It's you've got your torso protected, you've got your body protected, you're stanced for an attack, your legs are in a good position. I think I'm gonna put it below the stance of Yin-Yang intersection. I was fully ready to put it above that stance, but now that I'm kind of talking it through, I think maybe it doesn't deserve to be that high. Fajin is definitely going into A tier. I'm just putting it... Yeah, I'll put it at the bottom right now, but let me kind of talk it through. It's a flat damage boost and knockback boost to, all of your attacks, right? You can do a Fajin punch, you can do a Fajin forearm strike, a Fajin elbow, Fajin knee, Fajin kick, any kind of kick, any type of punch. Any attack can have Fajin, and it's a flat damage boost, and it'll send your opponent flying back. That's really good. It also makes it so that you can use your full power at any range, which makes it a useful anti-grappling technique. It's basically like a baby version of Dragon Shot. It's more useful than the Triple Strike. More useful than Hatsumi's Throw, because again, Hatsumi's Throw only works when he's got a grapple, whereas Fajin works in striking range and in grappling range. I want to say it's not as good as Hammer of Burma, because Hammer of Burma is so strong that it basically blows any Fajin strike out of the water, unless we're talking about specified Fajin strikes, like Fajin armor-piercing permeating force. It's a bit of a tongue twister there, and of course the Dragon Shot itself. But it has the power to blow out a normal Fajin attack, and it can be used in grappling range with its short version. So I'd say it's like a better version of normal Fajin, And then, like, specific, specialized techniques like the armor-piercing permeating force, they're able to surpass the Hammer of Burma. So I guess we can move on to the next one, which is Fajin. I think I'm going to put that one in A as well. I want to see where I end up putting it. It's a very powerful defensive technique. It's a good parry, in of itself, but it also allows the user to disperse the damage that's done on the initial contact, so that initial impact isn't hurting, and the attack itself is being parried. So I want to say it's better than Triple Strike. I want to say it's better than 100 Meetings Throw, because 100 Meetings Throw requires setup. A lot of Hatsumi's Aikido techniques do require some significant setup, and though, well, Hatsumi's 100 Meetings Throw is basically a death sentence, whereas Fajin is a good defensive technique, but it's not a game changer like that. I would put Fajin above 100 Meetings Throw, because even though 100 Meetings Throw is a death sentence, you have to spend the whole fight setting it up, whereas with Fajin, it's kind of like a jab and a straight in the same thing, where it's like, you can throw it out as many times as you want whenever you want, but it's also a heavy damage dealer, like a straight or a cross. So this is like racking up damage, it's much more consistent, it has a higher success rate, whereas this is like a surefire way to kill someone, but you've also got to make sure that everything goes right, or else it won't work. Whereas Fajin, yeah, it saves you from that one attack, but from there you kind of have to, make the fight happen, right? So I would say it's definitely A tier, but I don't think it's too high. I think that's a good spot for it. Next is Sunkei, which I think it's the 1-inch punch. I think it's going to end up pretty high. It's definitely going above. We can put it above Fajin for now, but let me talk it out. I mean, it's the ultimate Fajin strike. It's basically Dragon Shot Light, right? It's like a single, fist strike. It's a single punch at, like, 1 inch of range. I think the only difference between Dragon Shot and the Sunkei is that Dragon Shot is a 0-inch punch. It can be used at any range, whereas the Sunkei needs an inch of range to transfer the power, and the Dragon Shot does more damage, but I'm not sure if that's a product of it being an attack from Kano versus an attack from Top Gear Liu, but I want to say I don't think it's stronger than Hammer of Burma. I think we're still in the territory where it's not specialized like Fajin armor-piercing permeating force, and it definitely doesn't outdamage the Hammer of Burma. It does launch people back farther, but that, as good of a thing as that is to create space and be able to, use whatever technique you need, that could also be a downside. If you're looking to make a combination, now you have to cross the distance you created in order to follow up, so it has its uses. It's kind of a niche technique, but it doesn't have, like, the durability negation that the armor-piercing permeating force has, and it is not outdamaging the Hammer of Burma, so I think that's a good place for it. Alright, next up is Swing, and I don't think this should surprise anyone. It's actually going into S tier. I would venture to say, I might venture to say that it's even better than Dragon Shot, because Dragon Shot can be used at any range, and it's a full power blow, and it is very powerful, but, like, throws end matches, right? Strikes, Hatsumi was able to survive a Dragon Shot. A lot of people are able to take, I mean, Liu, with like a 100% Gyuhan, or removal, or whatever you want to call it, got demolished. But, he also ended up losing to Akoya. I don't know, that fight had a lot of stuff going on. Akoya had weapons and armor, and Liu still put on a good fight. And Liu, I keep saying Liu was injured, so I don't know. That one's kind of like, I don't know if that's such a good example. There's a lot of complicated factors there, but I want to say Swing is it better than, Advanced does hurt the person, and it's not as strong, well, the more you destroy your own body, the more power you get out of it, and it can be like an absolute game changer. This one's a bit controversial. I knew swing was going to end up in S tier. I mean, it's the ultimate grappling technique. It is better than every other grappling technique that I can think of, right? It allows for basically any contact of any kind to be a viable grip for a throw. And throws, like I said, throws end fights, right? It's not too much of a stretch, especially considering the most recent chapter with Kano versus Jirota. It's not a stretch to think that Jirota could beat somebody like Julius, right? I don't know. Do I want to put it above Advance? I might even... Well, no, I was going to say I might even put Advance above Lion Bite. Well, Lion Bite, if somebody stops the technique from working, then that's it, right? That's... The technique failed, whereas Advance, Possessing Spirit, you can just amp the output or try something else. You can just keep going. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Swing... I'm gonna put Swing above Lion Bite, because Lion Bite is just one technique, right? If somebody figures out how to counter it, it is an instant kill, it breaks your neck. But if somebody figures out how to counter it, or their neck muscles, like Julius or Waka or something, if their neck muscles are too strong for you to use it on them, it becomes useless. Whereas Swing has much more utility, because all it is the ability to get a grip from any contact. So you can use the entire arsenal of every single technique in Judo because you have Swing. So I would put it above Lion's Bite because it's more utility, but I would put Advance above Swing because you can just keep growing stronger, right? Sure, you're sacrificing your body in turn, but I think that's a good setup. You know, this is all subject to change. All right. Next is Tai Xiao Kan. I think that's right. Tai Xiao Kan. It's like a shoulder check. It's like a full body shoulder check attack. It's from the Baji Quan style of Chinese martial arts. And it's powerful, but it's not like particularly powerful. It's not like a supernatural technique like a lot of the attacks in the series. So I want to say it's higher than... It's not above full shoulder throw. Because that's when we start getting into the territory of, like... That I think is, like, one of the strongest mid-tier non-supernatural techniques. Because the strongest non-supernatural techniques are these four right here. But, you know, then we have Wuxie, I think that is, which is a supernatural technique. Thunderclap, which is not supernatural, but being able to strike pressure points that accurately, that consistently, is pretty superhuman. Then we have Lon, which is like a barrage of Fajin strikes, which don't appear to be as strong as like normal Fajin. Also, Lon doesn't really have the versatility of normal Fajin. It doesn't have the power of Sunkei, which, you know, in case you're wondering why it's down here and not up here with the rest of the Fajin techniques. I want to say that Tai Xiao Kan is above the Stance of Suppression, which I forgot that I put the Stance of Suppression in B tier, but that does make sense. Earlier I was saying that I wouldn't put a stance above C tier, but this is certainly the exception. Other than that other exception. Whatever. Yeah, I think Tai Xiao Kan is good there. So I'm gonna move on to Shivering, which is another controversial one. It's good for bypassing durability, but it doesn't seem to have high damage. Doesn't seem that viable when compared to things like armor-piercing permeating force, and there are plenty of other techniques that bypass durability and do it much better. So I want to say it's definitely B tier because it has that special it factor. You know, it can hurt you even if the person is normally not strong enough to hurt you. I think it's above Lever Throw, considering how easily Gao Lang was able to just kind of stop that from doing anything. Is it above the low-medium kick or whatever? Ryu's little kicking attack. No, I think that Ryu's kick there has a lot more versatility. It's a good solid kick, so it does damage, but it can also trip the person, and it doesn't leave you in a vulnerable state, which, I mean, that's really solid. Also, I don't know who did the coloring on this panel for example, for Hammer of Burma, or who did the coloring for Shiver, but really good coloring, guys. You know, the Kengan community, they do really solid colorings and stuff. Some I've seen where they're like, it's like, okay, it's a little too loud, there's a little too much stuff going on, too many colors, not everything quite mixes, there's some clashing happening, but the dedication from the fan base and the skill and talent in the fan base, just phenomenal. You guys are awesome. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. I think we have Shivering figured out. Next up is the Owl Talon Kick. I think I want to put this one in A tier. It's similar to Yu Amanai's no-motion jump attacks, if you guys are familiar with Baki. He was the guy, for those of you that aren't familiar with him by his name, Yu Amanai, he was the guy that Yujiro brought to the Maximum Tournament as his de facto fighter. The guy that kind of like floated in the air. This is similar to that in that it allows him to stay in the air and attack simultaneously. He's using the person as like a stepping stone. He just keeps kicking down on them and jumping off of that kick, which keeps him in the air. And the strength of that is that, biologically speaking, they talk about this in Baki when Retsu fights Joe Frazier. It's harder for humans biologically to react to an attack from above them, or just anything from above them. So I think that like playing on human weakness, human biology, I think it's enough to put it in A tier. But I'm not sure how high I want to put it, because the person can literally do what, what Doppo did. The person can do what Rihito did and just grab the person's foot, time the attack, and grab their foot. But if I remember correctly, Owl Kick can also be used from the ground to just stab the person with the toe claw, similarly to Doppo's toe kick in the Maximum Tournament. So it has a bit of utility, but the triple strike is a pretty damn powerful attack in that, like, it hits 3 vital points in one go. So I'm thinking I want to keep Owl Talon Kick at the bottom. Yeah, I mean, I'm having a hard time thinking about it being stronger than the Rear Naked Choke, combined with the Python Hold, but I think my justification there is that the Talon Kick, you can just do that, right? He can just hop right to it and get into the Talon Kick, whereas setting up 2 grapples takes a lot of setup, and there's a lot of things that a person who knows how to grapple can do to stop that. You know, if you don't get your Python Hold, it's going to be hard to secure your Rear Naked Choke. They're going to be able to fight their way out of it, and vice versa. If you don't get your Rear Naked Choke synced in, then it's going to be kind of hard to, or I guess rather useless to use your Python Hold. Because yeah, you've got their arms locked down, but if they're doing something that's stopping you from getting your hooks in on the Rear Naked Choke, then there's really no point to just pinning them. You know, you have to beat them in a fight, at least that's how it works in Kengan. If it was like a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament, that might be different. I'm not sure what the rules are there, but if we're talking about real combat, if we're talking about an actual fight and not like sports, then restraining a person's arms is only going to do so much. Whereas with the Owl Talon Kick, he can just let off his barrage of kicks, and if the person isn't able to react to the kick, then there's nothing they can do, and eventually they're going to lose. Very similarly to what we saw with, I can't remember his name. You know, I'm betraying the entire Baki community by not remembering this one-off character, but the shoot fighter that Yu Amanai went against in the first round, he wasn't able to really do anything against Yu Amanai's no-motion jump, so he lost. It was just a matter of time at that point. Alright, next up is Kuch. I think I'm saying that right. It's the bulk ability to, you know, manipulate and disperse damage. I think I want to put this in A. I mean, it's the strongest version of basically anti-limping, right? Limping is like no resistance, you go with the flow of the attack, and it negates the damage of the attack, whereas this is using power and force and manipulating the person's kinetic energy to basically disperse all of the damage and force of the attack. So in the similar vein to limping, it negs the attack, and it stops you from being hurt or damaged, and it also puts you in a pretty powerful, advantageous position. But I think I would put limping, like as a concept, above Kuch, because there's no limit to how much you can not resist something, Whereas I'm pretty sure if Julius hit like a got toter on Nadian trying to kutch it, he would be able to disperse a lot of the damage, I think, but he would still get like his shit pushed in. Whereas somebody limping could potentially take the entirety of Julius's hit and not take any damage. Although that said, that didn't work out very well with Toa, but that was more so to do with how he was limping the attack, the specific weakness of his technique. But in any case, like I said, I think I want to put this in A tier. Okay, there we go. But where? Where in A tier? Definitely above Fajin. Because Fajin is good for like a single attack, but like if you're outsped, that's it, right? Whereas if Nadian is blitzed, depending on how the blitz happens, he could still activate Kutch mid-blitz, if you kind of understand. I would put Kutch above Hatsumi, definitely. I would put it above Fajin. I think these are all the attacks it could stop. It could negate a lot of damage from Hammer of Burma, but I don't think it's above Dreamwalking, because Dreamwalking is like basically a free opening. That's really powerful. And then we're talking about after that, it most certainly does not get past Fajin Armor Piercing Permeating Force, because I think that Fajin Armor Piercing Permeating Force quite literally hard counters Kutch. Kutch is trying to stop an attack through the opposite means of limping, rather using rigidity to manipulate the force of a strike. Well, you can't really manipulate the force of the strike if it bypasses your ability to defend it. So, yeah, I think that's right. I think we're gonna put Kutch right there. Dreamwalking is like, you can't really Kutch something if you don't know where it's coming from, or who of the dozen or so versions of the person you see in front of you with all the after images, which one of those people is actually gonna attack you. It's, in essence, a eyes wide open surprise attack. And I don't think there's a lot Kutch can do against that. Alright, next up is, I think that is, yeah, the Fierce Attack Formation, which I want to put in B tier. I want to put it above Earthquake Foot. Do I want to put it above Earthquake Foot? Well, it's a stance and a like barrage of techniques, more or less combined. You know, it's a formation. Right? It's strong because the hands are high, like for the stance, the hands are high, they're near his face, so he can use it to protect himself. The elbows are kind of flared, so he can use it to protect his body as well. I mean, there's constant motion. There's no, like, he's not just sitting there in the stance, he's constantly doing something, right? He's constantly attacking, he's making use of both normal strikes and his claws, and he's leaving room for kicks as well. So I want to say it's higher than the Stance of Suppression. I don't know if I'd consider this one just a technique, or rather just a stance, because there's also the attacking involved. If it was just the attack, I'd probably put it like high C, probably above the Yin-Yang Intersecting Stance, but not in B tier. But with this, I think I'll put it above Taishan Kao, but Shoulder Throw is still pretty like, the one that Mokichi does, he does the throw, you can't break your fall, and he throws you directly onto your neck. It's basically like I think I made this comparison in last video, but it's been a while, so I don't remember for sure. But it's literally like 100 Meetings Throw light. You know, less setup, sure, but I mean, I would say that 100 Meetings Throw, when you get the setup done, it's more guaranteed, and it's more lethal, because it's a direct vertical fall onto your head. We saw what it did to Bando. You know, Bando had to shrink his head into his neck. He'd be fucking dead if he couldn't do that. So I think Fierce Attack Formation is sitting nice and pretty right there, right? Taishan Kao is just one powerful hit, whereas this is a stance and a barrage of several attacks. Okay, next up is Misdirection, which I want to put in A tier. I think that kind of speaks for itself, but, I mean, it's a strong counter to Foresight users, when combined with Sidestep, that is, which is another kind of sibling technique. But unlike the Wuxie, which is the snake-style Foresight counter, this can also be used to create openings on non-Foresight users and just be used as like a regular feign. So I would say Misdirection goes above Dreamwalking, because it's like a better version of Dreamwalking. You don't need to get the after images up, you can feign the person, and it works on Foresight users. I think I'm gonna keep it there, because with this, it's like, even if the person, if the person sees through your feign, then it really all depends on what your attack is. Or if the person's so fast or so durable that the feign doesn't matter, that's it. Whereas this, it doesn't matter if they can see it coming or not. If they dodge it, then that's whatever, right? I think Misdirection would allow for somebody to attack when... Well, actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, they're kind of equal. I'm gonna keep them as they are right now, but this is the better option when you're fighting a faster opponent. This is the better option when you're fighting a stronger opponent. Because if the person's fast, they can just dodge your armor-piercing attack, and then you'll never hit them, and it doesn't do anything. Whereas with Misdirection, you can hit them even if they're potentially faster than you by confusing them and using feigns. But if the person's stronger than you, it doesn't matter how much you feign, you're not going to be able to hurt them that badly. Whereas with, you know, the permeating force, you know, if they get hit by it, they're going to get hurt by it. That's just a foregone conclusion. So I think they're actually equal. If I could put them in the same spot, I would. It's just the same idea for different strengths. If that makes any sense. Okay, we're gonna move on to Eye of the Sky. It should be no surprise, don't freak out, not B tier, we're moving it up to S tier. I don't know how high I want to put it into S tier, but, I mean, it allows the user to gain a bird's eye view of the fight that they're in. You know, they're able to view the whole fight from the azure sky, so that allows for easier observation of enemy attack patterns, easier observation of enemy location. They can't, like, blitz around you and attack you from behind or whatever. It allows you to react faster because you're seeing it from a wider field of view, and of course, the larger field of view, it just makes it makes your perception of the world superior than a first-person perception alone in every conceivable way. I want to say it's above Dragon Shot for sure. I want to say it's kind of a utility thing, so it's above Lion's Bite. I don't think it's above Swing. Because ultimately, with Eye of the Sky, if you're not strong enough or fast enough or whatever to defeat your opponent, then that's kind of the long and short of it. Whereas Swing, if you're like almost fast enough to grab a person, if you can just like get a single finger on them, just a scathing touch from a finger, you've got a grip and now you can throw them into the ground. And like I said, throws are a lot more powerful than strikes, just inherently, right? You're using your force, a person's force, and their entire body weight to attack them. Whereas with Eye of the Sky, it poises you in a position to be able to make a big change. It gives you a lot of advantages, but you're not actually acting on anything yet, right? Those advantages are good, but with Swing, you've got an actionable advantage, right? You have a grip on a person, and with that grip, now all you gotta do is throw them. So I think I want to put Swing there, and yeah, I think that's a good place for Eye of the Sky. Next is this one's gonna be kind of hard for me to pronounce. I always fuck this up. Damascended thrust, I want to say. It's the finger thrust that that Falcon does. I want to say it's B tier. It's above Taishen Kao for sure, but I don't think it's above Fierce Attack Formation, because Fierce Attack Formation is a guard, a stance, combined with several, you know, striking attacks, such as like kicks and punches and whatever have you, elbows, whatever, but it also makes use of his claws. Whereas the Damascended thrust is just one thrusting attack with the claws. And it's a strong piercing attack that uses the claws, but my problem with it is it's a single attack, which kind of leaves you open to counter if you miss, or even if the person takes it, they can still then follow up with a counter. And though it's a good, strong piercing attack that if you place your shot right, could potentially even end the fight right from the word go, it uses the fingers. And the fingers are very fragile. They're more fragile than a fist, objectively speaking. So if somebody tries to counter your Damascended thrust with a punch, and, you know, if the person's, like, significantly weaker than the person using the Damascended thrust, then the thrust is just going to pierce right through their fist. But odds are, if we're talking about an even playing field, you're probably either going to have your claws broken, at least, or at worst, your entire finger broken. You know, both fingers, because it's multiple fingers, right? So, it has its strengths, but it certainly has its weaknesses, and that risk is pretty damn high. So we're going to put it in B. And Toxic Avenger, which is the technique that, I think it uses Yansong, something like that. The Chinese poisoning technique. I'm actually going to put Toxic Avenger in A tier, because it poisons the person over time, which is good. Like, if you use Toxic Avenger and you're able to successfully poison the person, you could literally stall out the entire fight and eventually win. The problem with it is, the reason why I'm not going to put it into S tier because it's so amazing, is it poisons the opponent over time slowly. It's not fast acting. You will still probably have to keep up the fight. Even against Rihito, you know, the Falcon still, you know, Albert still had to put in the work, right? He still almost lost, even after significantly poisoning Rihito. And you also have to, it requires you to break the skin with your claw, right? That sounds like, oh, well, all he has to do is use one of his claw attacks. But if the person's really fast, and you're never able to hit them, then that's it. Now, he has other stuff in his kit that we're taking into consideration. I think the only technique on this entire list, though, that I'm going to take the other technique into consideration is with Misdirection, by virtue of it literally coming hand in hand with Sidestep. So not taking into consideration that he has a lot of techniques that he can use to break the skin. If we're just talking about a person with poisoned claws, well then, we can't take into consideration misdirection and sidestep, that, oh, like, if a person's faster than him, he can attack them. We're just talking about a person with claws that uses Toxic Avenger. And in that instance, if the person is too strong for him to pierce their skin, or too fast, then it's useless. But, all things considered, where I want it to end up, I think I'll put it there. Right? I think it makes much more of a difference than Fajin, especially in the long run. But it's not a fight ender, it's not a you know, fight setup into a fight finisher. And it doesn't have the consistency and power of Fajin or pretty much anything else beyond that point. It's definitely good, but that's where Toxic Avenger stays. For Double Kick, we're gonna go B tier. I don't even think it's as good as Earthquake Foot, but it's not bad. I think I'll put it there, right? I don't think it's as good a kick as Ryu's kick, because Ryu's kick has utility. But I mean, it's a double kick, so you're landing 2 consecutive kicks. The problem with it, though, is it's harder to get both kicks to land. You do your first kick, and if that misses, then you're basically fucked. You might land your second kick, but that first kick is kind of like the primer for the second kick. And even if you land that first kick, there's no guarantee that you're going to land the second kick. And the worst thing of all is that it leaves you open in midair, right? That person could easily take advantage of the fact that you're in midair, and they could take those kicks and then fuck you up before you hit the ground. And there's not a whole lot you can do to guard yourself in midair. They could get a grapple on you, they could knock you down, they could fuck up your landing, so now you're on the ground prone, you're in a really bad position. There's a lot of bad things that can happen to you while you're midair. So, B tier. Lotus King. I'm gonna put this in A tier. It's actually gonna go... Let's see, I want to put it above Owl Talon Kick. I want to put it above Triple Strike. Above that, I think I'm gonna put it there. Lotus King is good. It's basically like a superior version of the Fierce Attack formation. And, you know, it's a fast and powerful barrage of attacks and feigns, and it's great, but that's it. Right? Other than the fact that it's a barrage of attacks, it's fast, it's powerful, that's the long and short of it. There's nothing special about it, right? With Toxic Avenger, in theory, you could end a fight in a single attack. With 100 Meetings Throw, after an entire fight of setting up, you end a fight in a single attack. Fajin, you are, literally all of your attacks are just stronger, right? Sunkei, it's the best version of Fajin. I mean, I could give you obvious reasons why everything beyond this point is better than Lotus King, but that's where I think Lotus King ends up. I don't think there's a lot of discussion that needs to go into that. Alright, for Sparrow Stab, we're going to put it in B tier. I think we're going to put it above the Damascented Thrust. I think we're actually going to put it above the... Ooh. I might put this above Shoulder Throw. No. I'm not going to put that above Shoulder Throw. Because the reason I was kind of hyping it up there is it's kind of similar to Terminal Stab, which I have in A tier, in that it attacks the person's, like, the nape of their neck with, like, your toe claw. So it's a kick to the nape of the neck that pierces, which is pretty damn powerful, but it does have a worse success rate than Terminal Stab. Whereas Full Shoulder Throw, I think the only reason that didn't work, and that's it. Right? It just didn't work. It could have killed Rihito in a single hit, but it just didn't. Whereas Full Shoulder Throw, the only reason it didn't work on Ryan is because they literally explain it in the following manga panels. It's because he's a superhuman mutant freak. Right? Rihito does have that kind of, like, mutation-esque, like, grip ability with his Razor's Edge all the way up here, but his body is not more resilient than a normal person's. Right? And I say normal person meaning, like, superhuman martial arts manga character that can, like, destroy an entire building in a single punch. Which, if Oma's Iron Breaker on that boulder that one time is anything to go by, all of them can fucking annihilate buildings like it's nothing. Waka and Julius shook a whole fucking, like, volcano with a punch clash. But, or the stadium or whatever it was. I don't remember if that was in Purgatory with Julius and Toa, or if it was in the Annihilation Tournament with Julius and Waka, but I think it literally happened both times. I don't know, it doesn't matter. All I'm saying is, like, Ryan has higher durability than most normal people, and that's the only reason why he survived the Full Shoulder Throw. Whereas Rihito doesn't, and he still survived the Sparrow Stab. So we'll move on to the Invisible Elbow, which I'm putting in A tier. It's a normal attack, it's a normal elbow strike, so far as I remember, but being that it's invisible because of the angle and speed it's coming, like, attacking you from, it's nearly impossible to see, and that makes it nearly impossible to defend against. So, we're talking about something up here. Misdirection. I think because Misdirection has more utility, it can be any form of strike or attack or anything. I'm gonna put Invisible Elbow below it. Actually, I'm gonna put it below Dream Walk. Well, no. I'm gonna keep it above Dream Walk because Dream Walk requires you to get your after images set up, whereas with Invisible Throw, with Invisible Elbow, it's just the attack, right? The attack in of itself is invisible. You either can see the attack or you can't. That's it. Alright, Pre-Initiative is next. That's going into S tier. There should be no surprise. This is probably gonna go pretty high into S tier as well. I would venture to say Pre-Initiative is really fucking strong. Yeah, I'm gonna put it above the Advance, because, Kaneda with Foresight was able to keep up with Gao Lang for a short period of time. And Gao Lang was, like, a competitor for Kano, right? He was taking a shot at the king. Gao is, you know, people like to joke, it's like, oh, Gao versus Hatsumi, and oh, Gao Wank strong. And it is, you know, I think Hatsumi versus Gao is a strong argument. I think it can go either way. I think Gao is way overhyped by people sometimes. They go fucking ballistic and say shit like he could defeat Kuroki with his dick. But Gao is really strong, and for Kaneda, who is fucking decidedly not strong, who is fucking trashed here, in terms of, like, physical ability, for him to be able to keep up with Gao for any period of time with just Foresight, that's impressive. But Kuroki fucking sweeped the tournament with Pre-Initiative. He was able to beat Kano. Right? So that Pre-Initiative is fucking nuts. Pre-Initiative is, like, I mean, I would venture to say that anybody who knows what Pre-Initiative is and understands what it is, this S tier placement does not need an explanation. But if you don't understand how Pre-Initiative works, I mean, I'll eventually get around to doing an explanation video on it, eventually someday, in the distant future. But basically, it's predicting somebody to the level that you can read their patterns and fighting style and personality so perfectly that you know what they're gonna do before they do. You're able to predict their next move before they even know that that's the move they're gonna use. That's fucking nuts. That's really good. I wouldn't quite say it's as strong as, like, Musashi's ability to read someone's mind in Baki, because at that point, it's not a matter of like, oh, I know what you're gonna do before you do, because with pre-initiative can be tricked, right? Your brain signal cannot be tricked. The person is literally reading your mind. They have the exact same information that you do. You cannot think of something that they don't already know. If somebody were to say change their style in the middle of a fight, if Gaolang was using boxing and then he automatically switches to Muay Thai, right? That would throw off pre-initiative. I don't think it would get rid of it because pre-initiative is also about knowing the person and knowing their habits. So in theory, you could say, oh, my pre-initiative predicts that he will now throw a kick. Even though he's relying almost 100% on his boxing, he will use a Muay Thai technique. He will throw an elbow. He will go for a clinch. Something like that. That's entirely within the parameters of pre-initiative, but, I mean, with Musashi, there's literally nothing you can do. Right? That's it. Right? With his ultra high-level Sen no Sen, any weaknesses that him literally reading your mind could have, they are now gone. If you want to know more about that, I can also make a video on Musashi's ultra high-level Sen no Sen and his mind-reading ability. But for now, pre-initiative goes high into S, and we are moving on to the Emperor's Eye, or the Emperor's Eyes, rather, which is going into A tier. I got a lot of A tiers right now, and we're going to have a lot more when we get to the Niko style. I looked at it before when I was doing my Can You Beat Street Fighter 6 as Tokita Oma, which is literally the video I'm working on right now. I'm recording because I have the house to myself, but I was editing that video before I started recording this video. I was looking at all the Niko style techniques, and like 90% of them are going to end up in A tier. But for the Emperor's Eyes, I want to say it's really good. But I'll explain why it's not, like, top tier. I figure out where I want to put it. I might want to put it at the top of A tier. I'm going to put it at the top of A tier for now. If I change my mind later, then that'll be what it is. But, it's basically the Kengan Eye, the Fist Eye, or the Kengan, the Fist Eye. But, of course, it has all its, like, insane drawbacks where, like, the more you use it and the harder you use it, your fucking brain explodes. So, yeah, I don't know if it's going any higher than that. It's definitely not going into S tier, but it may go lower in the future depending on how I change my mind. But, I mean, the technique is literally the namesake of the series, right? Ken is fist, Gen is eye. It's the Kengan, it's the Fist Eye, right? That technique is so ungodly powerful that it's like it would be like if Dragon Ball was called the Kamehameha, right? Kamehameha show, right? That's Kengan. Alright, Skewer. It simulates a spear with your bare hands, but it's still a barehanded attack and not using an actual weapon, so I think I'm gonna put it in B tier. It's kind of like something Jerry would do. As a matter of fact, well, no, I think it's better than Scud and Patriot because it's smaller, it's sharper, it pierces, it's less predictable, and it can change trajectory, but I don't think it's above Falling Bucket. I think Falling Bucket is more lethal, even with all the setup required. So yeah. Sidestep is gonna go into A tier. It's gonna go right ahead of Misdirection. It's the same reasoning. It's a feint against Foresight users, and unlike Wei Shen, it's a feint against normal fighters as well because it throws off the timing, right? It's like a stutter in the fight. So, I mean, that's all well and good. Alright. Next is Mingling of Fox and Tiger. This one is fucking nuts. This one is definitely going in A tier. I wouldn't quite put it into S tier. I mean, it's good, certainly, but, well, it's a combination of Swimming Swallow, which the properties of Swimming Swallow that are, like, notable, it's a combination of unpredictable and consecutive attacks, so it's difficult to defend against them, and they just keep coming. It's an onslaught, but they're just normal attacks. Whereas with the mingling of the fox and the tiger, the normal attacks, quote-unquote, become Rashaska's palms, which, I mean, they deal more damage, they negate durability, so it's harder to dodge them because they're unpredictable. You can't just ride them out and keep defending against them however you choose to defend because they're consecutive, they just keep coming. And you can't tank them because they negate durability and deal, like, lethal strike damage. So this is definitely going pretty fucking high. I'm gonna put this under the Emperor's Eyes, because again, like, with Raging Vigor, it's just one and done. With Lightning Flash, it's one and done. With Blink, yeah, it gives you, like, that opening where, like, your next attack is, like, catching the person off guard. And Razor's Edge, you know, all of your attacks have lethal potential. But Rashaska's Palm gives all of your attacks lethal potential, so it beats that out. Blink, being, like, catching somebody off guard, that's covered by Swimming Swallow's unpredictability, and Swimming Swallow's unpredictability also beats out Thunder Flash, or Lightning Flash, and Raging Vigor, because it's consecutive, it keeps going. So, you can't defend against it by being fast, because it's unpredictable, so it'll eventually catch you off guard. You can't defend against it by tanking it, because every touch has lethal potential and it negates durability, and it just keeps going, so you can't ride it out. I mean, it's a really good attacking technique. Alright. Apex of Acting, Copy. I'm actually gonna put this in A tier. Yeah. Now where in A tier? I think it makes... I don't think it would be above Toxic Avenger, but I think that's a good place for it above Lotus King, because it allows you to, you know, slowly, you need time to like, copy and, like, get the timing and everything down. Slowly but surely copy any and every style and technique that you see, with some exceptions, like, you know, removal or Razor's Edge, because they're biological things. But the reason why I wouldn't put it higher into A tier or even into S tier is because it's nigh impossible to master a style like that. You're literally just copying, you know, down to a T. So it's good, but, you know. Star Drop, that's definitely going in A tier. Another fantastic A tier. It's like 100 Meetings Throw, but more lethal and much harder to stop it from happening. I would say it's above the Hammer of Burma. I would say it's above Kuch. Is it above Dream Walking, though? It still has a lot of setup. And it is possible to stop it, it's just that you would need a Fajin or Sunke or Dragon Shot-esque technique, which I see that they're down there, but this is more in general. It's not like, oh, well, this technique beats this technique, so it goes ahead of it. It's, well, this technique is more powerful or more useful than this technique, so it goes higher, right? It works better on more people. I think that's where Star Drop ends. Yeah, I think that's a good place for it. Alright, next up is Blast Core. Blast Core is an easy A tier, I think. It has its weaknesses for sure, but it's easily one of the most powerful attacks on this list, and it even has some utility, because as we see in that specific manga panel, Blast Core can also be used, like, on the full body. Like, Waka used it to break out of Julius's, like, hugging attack, where he just loved him so much that it hurted. Blast Core definitely is more useful than Kuch and beats Kuch. Same thing for that. I think Dream Walking is very difficult to kind of... It's kind of like Blink, where, like, you have to be better than it at its thing to beat it out, I think. But I did put Terminal Stab above just based on lethality. I would say that, well, Blast Core is not as lethal, right? Blast Core hits way harder than Terminal Stab, but if Kaneda were to perform Terminal Stab against Julius, Julius is gonna fucking die. If Kaneda were to perform Blast Core against Julius, it would probably hurt Julius, but, I mean, I think he'd be able to shrug it off like a normal Wakatsuki, like, punch, and then he would like, instantly kill Kaneda. So, it's a really powerful attack, but I don't think it's as useful in a fight, as much of a game changer as having a free open shot having an attack that a person is unable to defend against and has some minor durability negation because it's like piercing and cutting with the elbow, which is a finer point than like fist or whatever. And then from there, the argument for Blast Core just becomes harder and harder. So I think that's where we're gonna put it. Flash, I want to say, is either bottom of A tier or top of B tier. Because Lawn is in B tier. Lawn is stronger, I think, because Flash is just supposed to be a normal jab. But then again, jab is faster, significantly faster, and the point of a jab is actually for speed and not strength. So Lawn is good because you have a jab, like you have jab level speed for like a full power attack, but Flash is like the best possible version of a jab. So I think I want to put that. It's so useful that I would venture to say it's the first striking technique to dethrone these guys. I wouldn't say it's better than the Owl Talon kick, because with Flash, that can be shut down, that can be stopped, that can be preemptively prepared against, whereas with Owl Talon kick, you can try to stop it, but your reactions are actually worse because you're fighting against somebody who's fighting you in the air. So I want to say it's B tier, but it's significantly high into B tier. Triangle choke, I want to say it's there. Because the rotating knee bar is just like that's not a, like I said, that's not just like a fight ender. That's like a, you will never walk again. You're done. That is an L. That's a lifelong permanent L. Whereas Flash's utility in a fight is so good that I would argue it's above that of something like an arm bar or a triangle choke, which have like a lot of fight ending potential, but can be broken out. Whereas Flash, yeah, you can do stuff to stop it, but, I mean, Gao can just do it again. He can just keep doing Flash. He could have probably literally beaten Kaneda using only Flash. Just keep knocking out those... I think I did the calculation one time. I don't remember what it was, but if I remember correctly, Flash can throw out 13 jabs in, like, a single breath, and I looked up, like, what the average... like breath time was for a person or whatever. I think I calculated Flash to be faster than a jab from Muhammad Ali from Baki, which that's pretty fucking nuts. And if it's not faster, they're pretty close, if I remember correctly. So Flash deserves that. God Glow, I'm probably gonna make some people sad with this, but God Glow's going to B tier. God Glow and it's not going high into B tier either. It's just a strong normal punch. I think it's gonna go above our strong normal kick and our strong block. I think it's gonna go above lever throw. It's gonna go above shiver. It's gonna go above double kick. I think that's where it stops. Sorry, guys. Gao Lang's ultimate technique, God Glow, is just really hard punching fist. That's it. I'm not going to get too much into that because I know that one's going to get hate no matter what explanation I give, so there it goes. Next up is Golden 8 Seconds. Golden 8 Seconds I want to put into A tier. That's a really strong technique where you can basically, for those 8 seconds, you're basically an unstoppable monster. Kind of reminds me of the Wushu Hulianda that Spec does, his apnea rush. It's pretty powerful to basically be an unstoppable monster for 8 seconds. But what kind of utility does it have? It's definitely not getting past Toxic Avenger. I think it's stronger than Copy, though. I think Copy is good, but those 8 seconds can change the entire course of a fight. Whereas Copy, it really all depends on what you pick. If you're, like, fighting an Aikido master, this is just like a random example. This is not like related to anything, but like for example, for instance, if you're fighting against like an Aikido master and you decide to try to use Aikido against him, and your fucking IQ is just like bottomed out worse than somebody whose head is a fucking ashtray, just empty head, nothing between the ears, no brain, fucking smooth as marble brain, human being with 0 IQ, well then copy isn't such a great technique. But with 8 golden seconds, you can be the type of person who shows up to a serious tournament in a fucking clown costume, and you will still put the fucking smackdown on it. So, yeah, 8 golden seconds. I think that's an ample explanation. Next is God Toter. God Toter is a pretty fucking strong technique. Oh no! Oh, Julius! No, Julius, I'm so sorry, brother. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. It's been a year since that fight. I think it's been over a year. That's kind of crazy. Anyway, it's been like over a year since you developed this technique. But the God Toter is a technique. I'm sorry. Y'all can swear up and down how that is preposterous and how Julius's muscle would never need to rely on a technique, but the fucker named it. It's a technique. Anyway, I'm not getting into that. That's just goofy. God Toter kind of counters some versions of limping, and it's insanely strong. Yes, definitely. Yeah. This is harder to do anything about. Yeah, I think it does go above Blast Core. It's basically designed to defeat Blast Core. But I don't think it gets any higher than that. Again, Dreamwalking. It's pretty good. It's like the Guardian of A tier. Heart Jab. That one's a little difficult because of the timing. It's definitely going into A tier, and I am gonna actually put it above. No, below Terminal Stab. But it bypasses durability, has insta-kill potential, but I think Terminal Stab is just better because it doesn't require that much setup. It's kind of difficult to get behind the person, but, I mean, we see it happen in real life all the time. If you fucking did this, what Gao's fucking ass is doing over here, I think he's using Swift Foot or something. Again, it's been a long time since I've read that stuff. But if you do something like this, it is incredibly easy to just get behind the person. People get behind each other in combat sports all the time. Backs are taken in combat sports. And imagine if instead of taking someone's back, you just fucking shanked them in the back of the neck, and they died. Heart Jab is good, but people have potential to survive Heart Jab. Case in point, Seki. Like, he's tough. He's got a lot of durability, and he's got a lot of endurance. But tapping someone's heart to make it beat out of rhythm and kill the person, that kind of goes beyond durability and endurance. Like, I think endurance plays a factor, but I don't know if you can just kind of will yourself to not die from having your heart fucked with like that. Unless you're Baki, in which case if somebody like chokes you out with a vine, then you're fine, you'll get over it. You just have an out-of-body experience, realize that your soul is not ready to go to heaven yet, and then you just go back into your body and fucking break Gaia's nose. Ghost style. Anyway, let's do Fusion. Fusion is going above Copy. Is it going above 8 golden seconds? No, I think it suffers the same problem, in that it really all depends on which styles you copy. I think, I was saying earlier that I counted misdirection and sidestep together. I think I basically have to do the same thing here, because you'd have nothing to fuse if you didn't copy. So, yeah, Fusion is like the natural progression of copy, but again, you're not mastering anything, you're just fusing 2 copied styles. Now, Formless and Salat, you're fusing the styles of the 2 strongest, or 2 of the strongest fighters in Kengan. And, you're fighting the way they did with their styles, but you still haven't mastered it, so that'd have limited effect, you know? Next is the technique that I'm gonna try to pronounce it. I'm gonna give it my best. It's the Mangamawa? Mangamawa? I don't know. Fucking pineapple redirection. It's going into A tier. No. Yes? Yeah. I'm gonna put it above Blast Core, below Got Toter. Because it's basically... Demon's Bane beat Waka. No, I feel like that's like reasoning on how, oh, this beats this, so this beats this. I don't really want to do that. I don't want to apply that kind of thinking here. or at least not too much. But I do think that if somebody were to use Blast Core on him, or any other technique within reason below this point, then he could just counter it and either hit them with the force that they used, or if the force that they used was not a lot and it was just some kind of durability negating attack, he could at the very least just hit them with his natural strength, which, from what we saw, physically speaking, without using the toer technique, Toa looked like he was potentially stronger than Julius. At the very least, they're more or less even. So with that in mind, yeah, I think the manga gonna have to probably be better than Blast Core, because it has more utility. And not only is it a powerful strike, but it's also like a limp counter. The best kind of counter, it's a limp counter. Alright, next is Bear Hug. Bear Hug is going into C tier. It's pretty good if you're strong, but it's not if you're not. And it's not even gonna go above High Stick Shot. It's gonna... Actually, yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, a normal person can use a Bear Hug on another normal person with, like, no martial arts training, and it will be somewhat effective. Like, the person is gonna have a hard time getting out of it because they don't know how to grapple, and they're just gonna be having their fucking organs and ribs crushed, and there's I mean, all of your, like, internal important organs, other than, like, your brain, are in your torso. So if the person squeezes hard enough, they're gonna fuck something up. You have a lot of floating ribs in your torso as well, right where that Bear Hug is being applied, and they don't have a lot of structural integrity. So a person could probably squeeze hard enough to bruise or fracture or maybe even break a floating rib if they have a significant weight advantage. So I don't know, it's like a brute force technique, whatever you want to call it. World's fastest flying knee, I want to put that into B tier. I want to put it above Patriot and Skewer and this, yeah. Going above... Definitely going above Earthquake Foot. Yeah. Yes. I don't think it's going above Full Shoulder Throw, but that World's Fastest Flying Knee, I mean, it's like... World's fastest, so it's incredibly difficult to do anything about, because it's like a straight blitz right towards you by like the Decathlon God. It's a flying knee, which is one of the hardest hitting attacks that a person can do with the human body, and it's a flying knee strike straight to the fucking face. So, yeah, I think superhuman level fighters, and I say superhuman again in comparison to everybody else, because everyone here can, like, blow up buildings. So, like, we're talking about the dudes who can, like, knock down entire city blocks with, like, a fucking fart. Other than those guys, I think that's a pretty good bet to take out most anyone. Except for, I guess, Okoye, because he somehow beat and mutilated Gozo. In any case, next up is Two Finger, and I want to put that in B tier. We didn't actually get to see what it was, but it's kind of... It's easy to tell that it was going to end up being something like Gao-style Shrike, the unarmed version, which inherently bypasses durability. It pierces, it has lethal potential. It was supposed to be his ultimate technique, and he felt that using that technique would be able to allow him to win against Removal Ryan, which is pretty damn impressive. So, working backwards from the top of B, I say, considering it literally has a 0% success rate, I want to put it above Sunfire. Put it above Thunderclap, but it's not going above Wuxian. It has a 0% success rate, but I think that's only because Ryan was like, okay, now it's time for him to die. I have to believe that it would have been more satisfying for Ryan to just tank his special technique and then kill him. Which, I mean, we found out he didn't even die. But it would have been more satisfying to see the despair on his face after Ryan totally tanks his ultimate attack and takes no damage, and then Ryan can just smugly finish him off while he has no hope left. But he didn't. He didn't let that attack hit him, which leads me to believe, to some respect, that Two Fingers would have probably done something pretty fucking bad to Ryan. Probably done something to Ryan to the point where he did not want to have that happen to him, knowing that he has an entire tournament to fight after that point. So at the very least, we're talking about something pretty good. Alright, D tier Demon's Bane, nobody's surprised. No, I'm just kidding. Not A. I'm actually probably going to put this in S. It's the best counter technique in the entire series. I think it actually beats pre-initiative, because pre-initiative you're dealing with it beforehand, whereas Demon's Bane, you can't really do too much about it, because even if you like predict their attack, counter, and attack them, they Demon's Bane, and as it's happening, they're doing it, right? But Kuroki basically survived Demon's Bane via pre-initiative. I would actually make the argument, now that I'm thinking about it, that Foresight definitely loses to Demon's Bane. But pre-initiative, I think, has that extra it factor that hard counters Demon's Bane, because you can predict the counter before you even hit the person. Because you have to hit the person for them to counter it, but with pre-initiative, you can predict the counter before the strike even happens, before the initiating strike. Okay, yeah, that makes sense in my head. A lot of things make sense in my head that don't make sense to anybody else, but that's probably because I'm just fucking insane. Swimming Swallow is an easy A tier, I think. I mean, it's unpredictable, it's consecutive. I think that puts it above Blink. Well, no. I think it would put it above Misdirection and Sidestep. But then it becomes a matter of, well, they're just normal strikes. Which, I don't think normal strikes have the capacity to beat out things like durability negation, instant killing, every single one of your attacks having lethal potential. And while I think it beats out the opening aspect because it's unpredictable and consecutive, from Blink, the versatility is endless. They could then use a Terminal Stab, or Razor's Edge, or whatever the case. So, yeah, I think that's a good place for it. Like, higher end of mid-A tier. Hui Sheng is the faux reincarnation that the Wu Clan uses, and I think I'm gonna end up putting it in C tier. Oh, well, no. I guess I'll just put it in D tier. It literally has no combat application. Sure, it's good because you can become a person, like how Alan was the original Wu. But, like, you can't do that in the middle of a fight. You can't just become... You have to do it over the course of, like, years. It has, like, zero combat application. So I would have to say that that technique is not particularly high. It's even worse than Single Blow, which is a single blow. Alright, Will-o'-the-Wisp. It's a sidekick that uses momentum to turn into a stomp. B tier... Better than Taishen Kao. Down-ascended Thrust. I don't think it's better than a Fierce Attack Formation, though. It's good that it's basically an attack into another attack. Like, that stomping kick is pretty powerful. But... And I think it beats out, like, a single attack, right? But I don't think that we're beating out, like, an entire, like, a guard, a stance, and, like, a plethora of attacks, you know? Alright. Another one that has little combat application, the Extreme Metabolism. I think it's better than Hui Shen because it does have combat application, in that, you know, increasing your metabolism makes you more metabolized, I guess. But the shedding fat and, like, purging your body of bullshit, that's very niche to Kono's specific situation. So, combat applicable to, like, one fucking person. Bear Killer is gonna go above High Stick Shot, because it's kind of like the difference between High Stick Shot, I'm assuming, is an overhead right that Adam developed through his experience of being an enforcer in the NHL, which is good, but Bear Killer, just based off of association of the name, I would have to say is, I mean, it's the same thing, but we're talking about somebody killing wildlife with their bare hands. Now, the killing the wildlife thing is it's a strength thing. It's because Kono was strong enough to kill wildlife with like a bear with a punch, but I don't know, fighting against animals is just more impressive to me than fighting against hockey fighters. So I think I'll put it above, but other than that, it's just a normal punch. To nobody's surprise, Divine Demon is going above Advance. Yeah, I'll say it's a... No, I don't think it's above Pre-Initiative, because I think a person with Pre-Initiative... Well, okay, it also has the tacky bullshit of Fallen Demon. So, maybe? Because you can predict what somebody's gonna do, but if they're reacting faster than you are, this is a tricky one. I knew absolutely without a shed of doubt that it was gonna be an S tier. But, my brain is fucking melting thinking about this shit. Kengan melts your brain. I don't remember for sure because it's been a million years since I've done it, but I feel like the Baki tier list was so much easier. Okay, this might even have a part 3. How long have I been at this? An hour. That's actually not that long. Okay. How much more do we have? We have a lot more. This will probably end up being an hour and a half. I'll probably do this all in one go. As a matter of fact, I'll try to speed things up from here. Divine Demon. I mean, it's a combination of, like, the best of Advance, the best of Fallen Demon. It does have drawbacks, but significantly reduced drawbacks. If I remember correctly, like, you can get way more of a higher output from Advance and Fallen Demon, before your heart starts fucking exploding. But Pre-Initiative is just fucking insane. You can literally beat somebody before they start fighting. Alright, Foresight. Foresight is gonna go above Raging Vigor. It's gonna go high into A tier. But it's not beating out Emperor's Eyes. And it's definitely not getting into S tier. Because we already have the S tier equivalent, and that's Pre-Initiative. Foresight has way too many weaknesses, and at the end of the day, we've seen that Foresight would not allow for a Kaneda-level fighter to be the Gao Lang-level fighter, when I'm pretty sure most, if not all, of these techniques would allow for at least a close fight, if not a victory, against somebody as strong as Gao Lang. The Guihun, also known as Removal... Stop, I don't want to change D tier. I think this is pretty easily going above Advance, but below Demon's Bane. It's basically Advance, but no drawbacks and better in every way. Yeah, I think that's it. That's a good explanation. Fallen Demon. If you can't tell, I'm trying to rush things along because I don't want this to be an hour and 45 minutes. Fallen Demon, I think, is going to be here. And I've actually already talked this out with myself, because I talk to myself. That's something I do. So, it allows you to react faster, which is really good, and it allows you to blitz people. But, if a person is so significantly faster than you that you can react to them but can't move your body in time to do anything, or if they're able to be, like, unpredictable, like with Swimming Swallow, or the Mingling of the Fox and the Tiger, or anything else, or even Blink. Blink would, in theory, beat Fallen Demon, because even if you can react super fast, if the person... Well, you'd probably be able to see the person moving... No, but you'd have your eyes closed the whole time. Blinks would last forever to you, because you'd be reacting at, like, the speed of sound, and you'd be blinking at, like, normal human speed. It's like the fucking sloth from Zootopia. There's some logistical problems with Fallen Demon, but at the end of the day, I think that Advance is more useful, because it makes you stronger and faster. Whereas this only increases your reaction speed, if I remember correctly, which is incredibly useful, but I would rather be stronger and faster because I can now beat people that I couldn't before, like Oma beating Ryan, and I can keep up with people I couldn't before. Like, like Oma versus Ryan. Alright, Zone. Zone is good. It's not an end-all, be-all, but it's like probably the best version of one free shot, because there's also some minor, like, hypnosis, mental manipulation aspect to it. So I would say that it's better than Blink, but it's not better than Lightning Flash. That actually worked out really well. I think that's a perfect summation of what I wanted to do there. Then there's this fucking 8,000... This is the funniest technique in the series, other than, like, maybe leg thrust. Curry Clan style leg thrust, where Ryan literally just kicks the guy. It's playing on the joke that Kengan just makes up really cool names for really basic shit. Like, punching somebody is called the super ultra punch of extreme suffering. The fucking North Mountain Tide, whatever, 8-fold demolition fist, it's literally just the karate heaven and earth stance. I don't know if it does anything. I'm gonna assume it's a better version than the real life heaven and earth stance. For anybody who's a fan of Baki, you know what I'm talking about. Doppo does it all the time. It's one of his favorite techniques, along with the Maeba stance, the front wing stance, where he puts his hands up and his foot up, whatever. If you know, you know. And the Sanchin stance, the heaven and earth stance is like his go-to stance. I'm gonna assume that there's something about it that makes it better than the normal heaven and earth stance, but I'm literally only willing to put it in B tier. And where in B tier? Probably probably below shield, because we don't know what the fuck it does. It's just visually speaking, it's just the heaven and earth stance. It's the 8-fold demolition fist, and he doesn't even fucking attack. I don't know. Maybe I just have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about, but that's where I'm gonna put it with my oh-so-limited knowledge. I apologize. Alright, Marionette. Useful for when you're trying to conserve energy. But, I think it's more useful because you can block, and then you can use Marionette. You can, in theory, block until your body is fucked, and then you can use Marionette and still keep fighting. So that ability to keep fighting even when your tank is basically empty, I think is actually really useful. Working my way down from full shoulder throw, because I don't think it gets past it, I think I'm going to put it above... Maybe not above Damascented Thrust, or Damascended Thrust, because it has that, like, piercing factor, where you could pierce someone's heart, or lungs, or some shit, and all but kill them instantly. Or basically give them an instant death sentence. But that ability to keep fighting when your tank is at 0, that's really good. Guillotine is a good choking technique. I want to put it in beer tier. I want to put it in B, but I don't want to put it all the way up there. I think it's better than a triangle choke. I don't think it's better than Flash. Okay. Seagrass hold is really good because, as we saw, or as you guys as you guys already saw, because Street Fighter Can You Beat Street Fighter 6 as Oma is coming out before this video. So as you guys will see, Seagrass hold not only works on weapons like a spear, but it could also in theory work on kicks and punches and stuff like that. And it's a good technique to get a grasp on someone. I think it's better than the lever throw. I think it's like lever throw plus, but I don't think it's better than... Is it better than a full shoulder throw? Yes, because I think it gives you advantages to be able to really fuck someone up. I think it's better than the cross arm lock, but it's not better than the triangle choke. Okay, that works for me. Absolute destruction. I mean, it launched fucking Waka miles. It almost killed him in one hit. He looked so fucking shook. He was like, Julius has never hit me nearly that hard. That's nuts. He could have done that twice and won the fight. Faye, he just didn't because he's a Wang Fang. Definitely above armor piercing. I mean, just the damage output is insane. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's kind of like this going on, but I'm assuming with the fact that it uses fire style, which is like your footwork style, or the flame kata, there's maybe something to it with like kind of has like raging fire properties, which would help with stopping things like unpredictable attacks if you kind of take the initiative and hit the person before they're able to defend against it. Whatever, that's where I'm gonna put it. Next is Screw Cutter Jizo. This is going into B tier. It's basically Baki's arm lock, which I'm gonna put... It's definitely above the cross arm lock. I think it's superior. It's a more definitive... You're sitting on the person, you have their arm behind their back, and you can break their arm pretty damn easily. So, is it above Seagrass Hold? I think it is. Because you have options there, but with Screw Cutter, that's like... The fight is basically over from there, unless you pull a fucking Yujiro Hanma and punch through the ground or whatever. Flashing Steel is definitely going into A. It's incredibly versatile. You have Blast, you have Smash, you have Pierce. So with Blast, you have the Elbow. It's strong, short range, and of course it has Flashing Steel. So it's a hard-hitting attack. It's very fast because of the Flame Kata, the speed and momentum behind it. But Blast is short range. If you want to go for the middle ground, you have the medium range Smash. That's a punch. It does decent damage. As well as having long range. And then you have Pierce, which you're using your fingers, which kind of leaves you vulnerable, but it's piercing damage, so you can, pierce through a person and, like, stab their vitals, as long as having that speed of flashing and that steel with the damage, and you have the longest range there, so I think, because of versatility and because of speed and damage, I want to put it not above Blast Core, but I will put it above Star Drop. Okay, next is Flickering Flame. That one is the technique where Oma is able to change direction at full speed, which is, I think, is like an A-tier utility. I want to start from Dream Walking there. I think this is more useful, but less useful than Invisible Elbow, because Invisible Elbow, it's just like, the attack is there. It starts and finishes. There's no, like, startup or anything. It starts with the wind-up and it ends with the attack. You either see it or you don't, and that's it. Whereas Flickering Flame is more of like a feint. You're charging full speed in one direction, the person predicts your trajectory and tries to time their strike, and all of a sudden you change direction and you come around from the side. That's really good. But there is the chance that somebody would say Foresight or Pre-Initiative or whatever, or Fallen Demon, would just be able to see that and then act accordingly. So it's like a full-body feint. Speaking of full-body feint, we have Fire Water, which I'll actually put in front of Flickering Flame, because even though Flickering Flame allows you to keep full momentum when you change direction, with Fire Water, it's more similar to Invisible Elbow, where the person has less time to think about it, has less time to plan for it, has less time to predict. It's just 1 second you're moving towards the person, they go to throw a strike at you, and you level change into a shoot, and you've used your fire to go into Water Kata. So, I mean, that's really good. That's a level change into a shoot. That's a tactic that's used in real life to great success in high-level combat sports. So Fire Water is going to go above Flickering Flame. Next we have Ironbreaker Revolution. I think it's really good because it combines a throw with a strike. I actually want to say it's better than Flashing Steel because of that. But I don't think any Ironbreaker is going to beat a Blast Core. Working down from Blast Core, I think it's definitely better than... I think, like, Flashing Steel is the star drop of striking, in terms of them being on the same level of, like, power. I think versatility puts it above star drop, but regardless, this is a throw. It's a non-lethal throw. It's a damaging throw, but it's a non-lethal throw, unlike star drop, but you immediately use that momentum to then land, like, a full-body strike. So I'd put it above both of these. The momentum you're getting from Flashing Steel is very good, and the versatility is very strong, but Ironbreaker is kind of like Fajin, where it has a lot of versatility by virtue of just being a strong strike, like a strike using the tensing of Adamantine Kata. So you can pretty much throw them any which way and strike them in any which way. If I were to take 1 point away from Revolution, Ironbreaker Revolution, it's that if the person knows you're using Ironbreaker Revolution, if they're able to predict that with Foresight or see it with Fallen Demon or Pre-Initiative or whatever, they know that the strike is coming next, so they can act accordingly. After they get thrown, they can try to break their fall and then attempt to block the attack. So, yeah. Water Dragon's Vein is like a modified pro wrestling bow and arrow. Baki actually uses the bow and arrow himself at the beginning of the series against Suedo in the karate tournament. In the anime, that's the 90s or 2000s OVA. For the manga, it's like the first chapters or whatever. I think. No. Do they start with the Kid Saga? No, the anime starts with the Kid Saga. Yeah. Anyway, Water Dragon's Vein is not as good as Screwcutter Jizo. I think it's more compromising than Seagrass Hold. Void from the Nil style, or the Nil Kata, limited combat applicability. It can calm you down and, like, help you to think, but if you're doing that in the middle of the combat, you're leaving yourself wide open, which is really bad. Bind of Pisces is definitely going above Cross Arm Lock, and Seagrass Hold, because it locks down both your arms and your legs, and it puts you in a arm lock. But I don't think it would go against, I don't think it would top out Water Dragon's Vein, because Water Dragon's Vein is a full body compromise, and it's putting pressure on the spine. The only reason Screwcutter Jizo is above it is because it's a more compromised position. The person is belly down, and their arm is at risk of being broken. So they're, like, almost totally fucking locked down. But I think that's a good spot. Jellyfish Hold is definitely going above Falling Bucket. I think it's a superior version of Falling Bucket. And if I remember where I put Guillotine right there, I'm actually going to put Jellyfish Hold or Jellyfish Clutch above Guillotine because I think it's the superior version. Sure, Guillotine uses the person's own body weight to choke them, but I feel like Jellyfish Clutch is more secure and can be transitioned into a takedown easier. Whereas with Guillotine, if you try a takedown, you're literally going to have to flip the entire person over your body, which is significantly harder. Water Mirror I'm actually going to put at the top of B. Maybe into A. I think I'm going to put Water Mirror into B, because it's, in theory, better than all of these other grapples, because it uses your own grappling against you. But I think I want to put it in B specifically for that reason as well. I'll put it top of B, in that, like, oh, I can reverse your triangle choke, or your triangle choke, sure, or your rear naked choke, python hold, whatever. I can reverse any of these and do them onto you. And I think that makes it really powerful, but that also makes it only powerful when somebody is good at grappling against you. If you're fighting, I don't know, fucking Nezu. Nezu's thick cake. If you're fighting Nezu, that's useless. That technique does nothing. So the situationalness of requiring your opponent to be good at grappling so that you can use their own grapple against them, or their own body against them, that kind of detracts points, but, I mean, in theory, it could be the best or the worst. Binding Demon. I also talked to myself about this. I'm a really smart guy. I'm great company. I want to put this in... it's getting lower and lower, oh no! Okay. Flash. It's definitely not going above Rotating Knee Bar. I think it'll go above Flash because it locks down your entire body. It locks down your arms and legs with your own strength. So the more you struggle to try to break out of it, the more tired you'll become, and eventually you'll just have to give up. You won't be able to fight your way out of it, and if you spend a long time trying to struggle against it, then Faye's just gonna break your neck or some shit, because you're gonna be really tired, you won't be able to defend yourself. The problem is, it also locks down Faye's entire body, so he can't do anything. Both of his legs are locked down, his arms are locked down. All he can do is headbutt you from behind, and in theory, you could also headbutt him, and you're probably in a better position to headbutt him. So, I can't in good conscience breach into A tier, but it is good that it locks down the person's body with their own strength, so they can't really break their way out of it. Dancing Serpent is going to go into B tier. It's an evasion move where you, like, avoid a strike by literally bending your entire body backwards, which I would say is, like, the worst way to defend an attack, because you're now in a really vulnerable, off-balance position, and your lower body is totally exposed. So say against, oh, I don't know, a full-contact karate practitioner like Waka, you've just given up your legs and knees to be fucking destroyed by low kicks, or God forbid, a Nakamoi. So I want to say that's actually below the eightfold demolition fist, but you're still avoiding an attack in theory, so it's better than like normal attacks. Bone Wheel is a strike and then an immediate follow-up. And it looked like a pretty good follow-up. It's like a strike and like you follow that momentum into like an upwards like wheel strike. It's not an A-tier attack, but as strikes go, I want to say it's above Lawn. I think that's a good enough place for it. You do that circle and follow up with another strike. Yeah, that's a good place for it. Alright, we're reaching the bottom. Let's see if we can kind of do a shotgun of a shotgun. Bone consumption. Where did I put Marionette? I'm going to put bone consumption under Marionette because it's a little more niche. It just allows you to consume some bones, like yummy bone juice. Where did I put Marionette? God, you guys are probably shouting to me. It's right there! Right there. Oh, there it is. It is right there. Good job, guys. I'm literally going to put it one space under Marionette because I feel like Marionette has more combat application. Whereas, this is really good if your bone is busted, but, I mean, that's pretty much it. Or dislocated or whatever have you. Rashaska's Palm is going to go into A tier. No surprise there. It's definitely going under this. But I think it's going to go above Razor's Edge because it's more lethal and it's better at negating durability. Ironbreaker, I think that's going to go under Fajin. I'll put it there for now. Ironbreaker, let's move you up to above Fajin, below Sunke. For the same reason. It has good versatility, has good power, but as good as Fajin is, if somebody like hits you in the face, like dodges and hits you in the face or counters or whatever, it's going to hurt. Whereas with Ironbreaker, in theory, you should just be able to use Adamantine Kata to then indestructible your whole body, or whatever other adamantine, you know, if you know Ironbreaker, you have to know Indestructible. So those two would come as a pair. You in theory, would be able to use another adamantine kata technique like Indestructible to defend yourself. So it's kind of like just a smidge better than Fajin. Okay, Earth Shrinking. Earth Shrinking is kind of like Fire Water, but you bait a person into an attack. So, like, you bait them to move forward and attack you, and then you take advantage of that by... It's basically the same thing, isn't it? I think this one has a little more versatility, because you're still upright. With Fire Water, you're in a downward shoot position, whereas with Earth Shrinking, it does look like Oma is still in an upright position where he could return to striking, he could go in for the shoot, he could kick, he could really do whatever he wants, he's just level changed. He kind of sways back and then dips into the level change. So I'm going to put it up there. Indestructible is incredibly powerful. It's a I would dare say it is, rather than a concept or a technique, it's a principle. Because of its versatility and the fact that it's a gateway to so many powerful techniques, I would definitely... Well, by itself, though. Is it above Fajin or below Fajin? I think it's definitely below Ironbreaker. I'm going to say it's below Fajin because even though it has defensive capability, where you can tense your body and protect yourself from massive damage, and you can tense your body and boost the damage of your attacks, the damage boosting you're doing with just Indestructible does not compare to Fajin, and the damage you're saving yourself from, I mean, you wouldn't have to save yourself if you were launching somebody across the arena with, like, a Fajin, and if you have an Ironbreaker, well, then you got Indestructible anyway, so I think that's a good place for it. Alright, change of scenery. I think it deserves to be high up, for sure, because it's like an Aikido-esque technique. I don't think it's going above, like, Star Drop. Don't think, for example, it's going above 100 meetings throw. I think I would actually... 8 golden seconds is pretty good, but it's better than Fusion. Okay, I think this is where I put it, because 8 golden seconds, that gives you 8 seconds to just fucking tear a person apart, but change of scenery can quite literally change the entire flow of a battle. Chi blockage, it's getting harder and harder to see things, to remember. Oh, there it is, Thunderclap. Where I put specific attacks. I think I'm going to put this below Sun... No. I think I'm going to put it above Thunderclap, but below Two Finger, because Chi blockage can, like, shut down your nervous system. So, you know, that striking that one pressure point and blocking your Chi, your ability to regulate your breathing and everything, is better than every single pressure point in Thunderclap and in Sunfire, even though it's just one hit. But still, Two Finger was a threat to Ryan. I don't know if he would consider Chi blockage a threat. I think he would have some kind of technique in his arsenal to reverse it. But, yeah, Rashaska's Soul is, I would say it's equal to Rashaska's Palm, and I put that above. I'm going to put it below because it's a little more situational, but it can also be used for mobility, so know that I would probably put them on the same place if I could. True Rashaska's Palm is basically like a one-tap kill. It's like your hands are fucking drills. He's like that long nail guy from Tough. Again, if you know, if you know. I think I'm just going to put it there. I was considering putting it above Blink, but that one opening, you could do a true Rashaska's Palm, as I do believe he did his fair share of times, and it just makes it better in every way. Iron Finger is not going to be as good as Iron Breaker, but I would say it's better than Indestructible. It's not as good as Fajin, because it's good, like, you can, like, pierce with your fingers, right? And the Adamantine Kata is going to keep them from breaking, but they're still more likely to break than an Iron Breaker punch. Flowing Edge can block a fucking bullet, so that's definitely going above Fajin for sure. Going above Indestructible for sure. I'm trying to, like, compare it to, like Kuch, for example. Going above Kuch, I think that's it. It's literally the Daigo parry from fucking Third Strike or whatever when James Wong and Daigo fought against each other and he parried the entire Chun-Li super, like, 19 or 20 whatever amount of hits. Bone Binding, I think I'm gonna put under Bone Consumption. And while I'm at it, let me see if I can remember that. I know I have the Kaiwan style Bone Binding on here as well. Let me see if I can pick it out from down here. Weeping Willow, Fang Beast, here. Kaiwan style, I'm gonna put it in the same spot. They're both basically Bone Binding, which is basically like a Bone Consumption light. Or I guess it's the opposite of Bone Consumption. Matter of fact, I think I would put Bone Consumption above, because Bone Consumption kind of is a bit niche. It's when you need to, like, detach your own limb. It's good for getting out of grappling situations or dislocate your own limb. But Bone Binding is much more important because it allows you to continue fighting even when your bone has been broken. You can kind of force your bone to not be broken. You can, like, use your muscle to control it, which is basically Marionette, but focused on a bone, like hyper-focused. Yeah, I think that fits. Okay, Flash Fire is actually going to go above Dreamwalking. I think it'll go one above Dreamwalking. Okay, I see it. And yeah, that makes sense. It's going to go below Flickering Flame, because again, it's after images, and I think it's better than Dreamwalking because I think it takes less setup, and by virtue of being Flame Kata, you've still got, like, options available, like switching to Raging Fire, or Flickering Flame, or Phantom Pace, or whatever the case. Speaking of Phantom Pace, that is our next one on the list, and I think it is a better version of Flickering Flame. Is it, though? You got the after image, where the person thinks they hit you and only doesn't realize they didn't hit you after they go right through you, and they're like, oh shit, he actually dodged, and I don't even know where he is. It might be better than Fire Water. Might be better than... Yeah, it's definitely better than Earth Strike, or Earth Shrinking, but it is not better than Invisible Elbow, in my opinion. Next is Raging Fire, which is really good. Raging Fire is a very solid technique. It's up there with, like, the likes of, like, Baki's Cockroach Tackle. It's definitely better than a lot of these. I don't think it's better than Swimming Swallow, but Raging Fire, because Raging Fire increases acceleration, which means it doesn't matter how... like, if he's going against... I made this comparison when I was thinking about it. If he's going against, say, for instance, Lightning Flash, it doesn't matter that Lightning Flash is faster. He's going to get to full speed first, and he's going to outspeed Lightning Flash. Because if they're 15 feet apart, And Oma's max movement speed is 200 miles per hour, and his max movement speed is 1,000 miles per hour, but it takes him half a second to get to 1,000 miles per hour. With Raging Fire, he gets to 200 miles per hour almost instantly, and he covers those 15 feet, and he beats the man before he can even move. Next is Weeping Willow, and if you can imagine, Weeping Willow is going to go pretty high. Definitely going above Star Drop. Is it though? I don't know. 100 Meetings Throw and Star Drop are like insta-kills. I think rather instead, I think it's gonna go above this, it's gonna go above this, it's gonna go above this, and these. It's not gonna go above Change of Scenery. I think this is a good place for Weeping Willow. And by that same token, here we have Entanglement, which is basically just Weeping Willow plus. So we're gonna put them there. And the reason why I say that is because Weeping Willow is basically just Hatsumi's normal Aikido. And Entanglement is like Weeping Willow, except you're forcing the energy back into the person and fucking up their arm. And Change of Scenery is like Weeping Willow, but like a full body, like full throttle throw. Which I don't think any of these really surpass 100 Meetings Throw. They're all just like normal Hatsumi style Aikido techniques, right? Ironbreaker Barrage, that one's going to be easy. That one is going to go directly above Ironbreaker. As far as where it goes after that, we'll figure it out. Fajin, yeah, okay. Sunke, it does go above, but it doesn't go above Hammer of Burma. That actually wasn't that hard. There are a lot of powerful strikes, but that's it. Right? Nothing too crazy. Next is Tomahawk Kick. That one's actually going into B tier. Work my way down. Because it's just a normal kick. It's just a powerful normal kick. Dumb Ascended Thrust. I think because it's more focused than Taishan Kao, I think it's going to go above the utility boys here. I think it is going to go above Dumb Ascended Thrust. It's one kick, so it doesn't beat Will-o'-the-Wisp, and it does leave you in that vulnerable position, but that's a really good fucking kick. That's like a hook heel kick right to the face. Devil's Lance, it's like every piercing attack we've been talking about, plus 1,000. I think it's better than Razor's Edge. No, actually I think Razor's Edge is better. I think Devil's Lance is... Devil's Lance is better than Heart Tap. Because Heart Tap is a little conditional, in that you have to find the opportunity to slip your hand in there and tap the heart. And even then, there's no guarantee that it'll work. But it is the strongest piercing attack on the list. It only loses to Terminal Stab because Terminal Stab hits a specific spot that's like an insta-kill. And Razor's Edge, even Kuroki admitted that it's like better than the Devil's Lance in so many words. He basically implied it. I won't say he outright stated. But he implied that Razor's Edge is better because, again, it's basically any touch. The wind-up for Razor's Edge, which I neglected to mention before, kind of fucking sucks, but if I remember correctly, Rihito found a way around that, so it's kind of a non-issue. Alright, Motionless is going to go up there with Foresight. That's basically what it is. I'll actually put Motionless above Foresight because Kaneda, a Foresight user, the best Foresight user, was not able to figure out pre-initiative, so he had to create Determinate Prediction. Whereas Motionless, which was Kuroki's version of Foresight, then led to him unlocking pre-initiative. Next is Shrike. Shrike is a good attack because it is a piercing attack that can be used both with a weapon and unarmed. But I don't think it's better than Devil's Lance. Don't think it's better than these guys. Don't think it's better than that. I think Shrike is better than Swimming Swallow. Because Shrike is typically supposed to be a surprise attack, as are most techniques in the Gao style. It's like a technique, or it's like the style of like charlatans and cowards and assassins and techniques, people who rely on surprise attacks. So it kind of has that unpredictability to it, but it can also be used with a weapon. You can fucking shank somebody. So that is Aces. Sen'chin, I'm gonna put directly above Shield. There it is. Lever Throw. Yeah, I'm gonna put Sen'chin above Shield because it's basically a full body shield, but it, you know, kind of like you're immobile. You have stability and you have defense, but you're also immobile, which kind of fucking sucks. Earth Crouching Dragon is a very powerful uppercut. I think I want to put it below Fajin. I'll put it above Iron Finger and Indestructible, but I want to put it below... or I'll put it above Iron Finger and Indestructible, but below Fajin and Iron Breaker, because I feel like these two kind of beat it out in power, but it pushing off of the ground definitely gives it a lot of power. While I'm at it, Gao-style Weeping Willow, I'm gonna say that the Gao-style version of Weeping Willow is weaker than, where did I put Weeping Willow? Here it is. I'm gonna say it's weaker than, Niko-style, because Niko-style Weeping Willow is from the Redirection Kata, which also evolves Weeping Willow into things like Entanglement and Change of Scenery, and it kind of grows from there, whereas Gao-style Weeping Willow is more like its ancestor, where it started, so Weeping Willow in Niko-style developed from it, which means that not only should it be better by nature, but it also leads to techniques and evolutions. So Gao-style Weeping Willow is a little more basic, but, I mean, other than that, they're basically the same. Swift Foot is a good mobility technique, but I don't think it's beating out the likes of Blink, so working our way down from Blink, I think it's not beating out Raging Fire, that's for damn sure. I think it has potential to beat out Earth Shrinking. No, I think Earth Shrinking is like a better version of it. Well, no, because it's so slight. I think it's... Okay, Phantom Pace is like... The person is literally hitting you, and then they realize you're an afterimage, and that you dodged them. Whereas, even Koga, with the Fist Eye, is barely able to react to him narrowly... It's like dodging the attack at the last possible second with a level change, whereas Earth's Shrinking is good because it baits them into an attack, but it doesn't appear to be a last-second thing. Spider Hair is really strong. I'm gonna put it in A tier. Oh god, I'm moving other techniques. What is this? Oh god. Oh no. I think this one here, if I fucked everything up, I don't care. We're taking up too much time. I want to say it's better than Gao-style Weeping Willow, but it's not as good as the Redirection Kata for Niko-style. Actually, I think it's better. It's better, but it's not better than Toxic Avenger, because you can't use human biological weaknesses on hair, right? He can just grapple you with his hair and then fling you around and lock you down, and if you're not powerful enough to escape or fast enough to get out of that, you can't, like, joint lock his hair or reverse a grapple on his hair. Fanged Beast. We're gonna put that pretty high because it's a weapon technique. I'm actually just gonna put it above Shrike, I think. Put it above Fajin. Not above Absolute Destruction, though. Alright, Uncoiled Serpent Strike. I think I know exactly where I'm gonna put that. Uncoiled Serpent Strike. I think I'm gonna put that right above Swift Foot. There it is. Actually, I will put it above Phantom Pace as well, because it looks to be a last-second change of direction into an attempted strike, but because Nadian, I think he had Eye of the Sky going at this point, he could see the change of direction. So though it never actually landed, in theory, it's just Phantom Pace or Swift Foot, but followed with an attack, which is, I mean, it's good. This is good. Straight Punch, 6 strikes. I'm sorry, this is not going very high. This is going like C tier. I think it's gonna go below Huashi, because it is 6 consecutive strikes, but I mean, that's all it is. It's just 6 punches. Root Cutter is like a neck-breaking chop. I'm actually gonna put that above Iron Breaker, because it's like focused into the blade of your hand. But I don't think it's above Sunke. Okay, Mental Control is not a great technique. It's another one of those where it's like, oh, it's basically, in effect, it's like Limp Light. I think it's fair to put it in... No, I think I'd put it in B tier. Probably... It's like Limp Light, which is like really bad. Where would I put Limp? I'd probably put Limp in B tier only because there are so many techniques in the series that get around it because there's so many people that can beat it. Where does like basic damage reduction? We have like Sunshine and Shield here. I think it's above Marionette because it's like immediately actionable. It negates damage, but I don't think it's above Dama-scented Thrust. Retrograde Moon is like a weapon reverse attack, which, I mean, I know that doesn't sound really good because it's like, oh, who uses weapons? But weapons are just naturally superior weapons to an unarmed strike. So I would say that Retrograde Moon is better than Entanglement. I won't say it's better than Change of Scenery, but I would prefer to be able to reverse, because if I know Weeping Willow, Gao-style Weeping Willow, and Niko-style Redirection Kata Weeping Willow, if I know how to use like a redirection-based attack to throw off somebody's attack, I'd rather have the Gao-style because I can reverse the barehanded attack and a weapon attack versus the Niko-style that can reverse an attack from a barehanded attack, but, I mean, what are they going to do against the naturally superior weapon? That's a little confusing to explain, but I think you guys get the general idea. Air Strike, Drone Bombing, Hunter-Killer Drone Kill Streak. I think I'm gonna put this above the Flying Tomahawk Kick. If I can just remember, there it is. I literally just saw it, I was about to say. I think it's just better, alright? Just take my word for it. My throat is sore. There's so many fucking techniques. I'm done explaining myself. I don't have to explain myself to you. I don't fucking owe you anything. Anyway, Armor Clad is below Indestructible because Indestructible is the natural evolution of Armor Clad. Next, the Gao-style Stance. Gao-style Stance is good because it's conducive to surprise attacks, which is, like, really good. Better than the Yin-Yang Intersection Stance. No, lower. It's better than Horse Stance because you have the surprise attack, but the hands are low, which means if somebody takes you off guard, they're just gonna fucking take your head off. I'm about to have to give up the house! I have, like, three things left. Okay, I know I'm panicking here at the end, but this is gonna be worse than Iron Finger. If I can just find that. Now it's just a game of being able to find shit. Okay. Iron Finger, I feel, is the natural evolution to Pierce. So that's self-explanatory. Soft Strike is like I'll actually put that above Fajin, but below, what do I have next? Iron Breaker? I'd actually put that above Iron Breaker, but below Root Cutter. No. I'd actually put that above Root Cutter because it has durability, negation ability, but I don't think it's stronger than Sunke. Alright, last two. And I'm against the clock because I'm about to have to give up the house. Twin Dragon Strike. I want to say it's lower than Fanged Beast. Lower than that. I feel like it would have ended up being Armor Piercing, or not, basically Lion's Bite Minor, Light. Yeah, okay. Look, folks, we're on the last one, alright? Formless. I'm a man of my word. Formless is going A tier. It's the only stance that I'm willing to put in A tier. And I'll say, because of its unpredictability and its fluidity in fighting, I want to say a fair place to put it. Because, again, at the end of the day, it all ends up with what you do with it. I think I'm going to put it below Spider Hair. But above Golden 8 Seconds. Alright, I will go through this and make sure that I like the ordering of everything, and I will get back to you guys in a second. Alright guys, I think the list is solid, but let me know what you guys think of it in the comments down below. If you guys like my tier list content, let me know by hitting the like button while you're down there, and if this video gets, say, 30 likes in the first week of upload, I'll do another tier list. I've got plenty of ideas to choose from, like different tier lists for Baki and Kengan, like character tier lists or martial arts style tier lists, as well as tier lists for other series like Garden and Tough and Kenichi, and someone in my Discord just recommended I do a skill tier list and rank some characters that they set up, so let me know which you guys want to see, and if you want to see it by getting this to 30 likes. I appreciate all the support the last tier list video got, you guys are great. And be sure to subscribe for more of me if that's something you want to see. Stay tuned for more Street Fighter 6 challenges, more style and technique explanations, more tier lists, and more of my dumbass. Thank you all so much for watching, I've been Red Fox, and this has been my Kengan Technique tier list. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.